What's happening, savages? Let's go for it.
Maybe in the last minute of your life, you want to be something more than a goddamn savage! We're not as hollow doctors. Annunziare mendaccio. Like this, you like being food for the immortal.
What is happening, my savage friends? You are listening to the voice of Immortal COIL. Fuck that band. Your oracle of whiskey, mysticism, revolution is my goddamn name. It is Saturday, the 9th of September, 2023, 11:08 p.m., and it is time, my friends, once again to get savage. I'd like to remind you that the Savage Show is not for children. This broadcast contains copywritten content. However, under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C2, Title 17 of the United States Code, this content is presented for the purposes of education and entertainment through the use of parody, satire, critique, analysis, and or social comment. All right, going to be talking about maybe changing things up a little bit. Typically, I go solo on this kind of thing, but I've been batting around the idea of adding a co-host to this, and towards that end, I'd like to introduce you guys, if you do not know him, to Mr. Lodonis Ravenwolfe. How you doing today, sir? I can't hear you. Is your audio on? I don't hear audio. I don't know what's going on, man.
I wish. Hold on. Let me see.
There it goes.
Testing.
Testicles. 1, 2, 3.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yes, sir. Loud.
Okay. Hail the chat. What's going on?
Yeah. Whether you're joining us live or watching us on the repeat, we'd like to extend our welcome to you. Lift high whatever it is you are imbibing. Join us with the Savage Salute. Here's to us. What's like us? Not a goddamn thing. Tastes like revolution. All right. So, how's things been? Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Wow. Well, let's see. I am a YouTuber. I've been a YouTuber. Hail Trans Fat. Since we and the Fatties first started kicking it off about 2018, you and me and the rest of the guys. I am the I run a channel called Author Stephen Walton. That's my first YouTube channel. I have another channel, Lodonis Dragonstorm, Narcissistic Abuse and Awareness. And I also have Lodonis Ravenwolfe. Going to be starting this off, talk about spiritual topics, do some tarot and magic, things that are close to my heart. I'm a pagan man, and I've been a practitioner since I was 13 years old, Wiccan since 21. And I've walked the world between worlds for a long time now. But I look forward to talking about some savage topics and getting into some spirituality with my brother.
Absolutely, sir. There's not that many people I can be completely open about all of my experiences with. I find that 90% of the human masses, they can only relate to like very physical and very mundane things. So much so to the point where society has been conditioned to kind of look the other way at those things, which is odd because coming up in the 90s, and I'm sure you could relate to this, it felt like for a minute there, like everything was about to bust wide open and that everybody was just about to be like their switch flipped on. But it seemed like the dark hats doubled down, and now society is dumber, frankly, than it ever has been. What's your observations about that?
Well, spiritually, absolutely. Give me 1 second. I'm putting out links for the stream.
Sounds good.
When it comes to we have. I feel like there was a tipping point at some point in history where people went from a connection with the divine, a connection with nature, a connection with one another, and people of power took people of manipulative people within power manipulatively. God damn, I can't even speak. Took control. I had to stop. Took control of the spiritual direction through organized religion, and tried to rob the common man, the common woman, of their.
There goes your audio. Well, while Lodonis is fiddling with his audio, I believe he's talking about the propensity of the management of the message. It's interesting because on the one hand, the message is so tightly clamped down, but on the other hand, all the symbols are there. There's a big attack on the pineal gland, and we have instances where we see, especially through what we consider our diet, we ingest substances regularly that calcify our pineal gland, which is basically the physical representation of the third eye. We will get some more perspective on this once Lodonis has fixed his audio issue here. But essentially what it is instead of a critical mass being hit, what I perceived was that there was a certain point where I felt like it was time to go it alone. I had read books about this early on in my career, and it's interesting because I've always had allies similar to Lodonis, where we might not describe ourselves as the same thing or have 100% aligned belief systems, but they're similar enough that we could speak the same language. And ultimately, I believe we're on the same journey. We're just, I'm doing it my way. Everybody else is doing their way. Which, it's interesting. On the one hand, you sort of reinforce your own values and belief system. But on the other hand, you realize how few people are actually really doing the work. There is a degree of suffering entailed in doing spiritual work and growth and personal development, because you're reaching past the things that society tells you you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And then well, good to have you back.
Yeah, sorry. Apparently it cut out audio when I shared it on 2 different channels on Twitter. I don't know, it just did that. My bad.
No, it's all good, man. Computers are weird.
Well, I'm working off my phone, and there's supposed to be smartphones, but they're making a stupid coil. I don't get it.
They're trying to make an ass out of you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my man's talking about the pineal gland.
I know, and I'm sitting here trying to sound all eloquent.
No, you do. You sound great. One of the I was watching a video, if I may interject for a moment. I was watching a video about the internal clock, and how getting up in the morning, first thing, and looking at dawn and dusk before the sun really starts to reach into the sky will help to soften and reawaken your pineal gland.
Yeah, actually, solar gazing is something that I was reading about curiously a few years back.
Is that like red gazing?
I guess we'd have to ask that motherfucker. Where is he? Is he even alive still? Red, we're reaching out to you, buddy.
Red gaze is with a wonderful woman being very creative out there. Guys, please check out the Red Gaze channel. Check out Nerium Nova. They're doing some wonderful independent comics right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I read his novel. I really, really enjoyed it. You can kind of tell where his influences are, but at the same time, he's doing his own thing with it. Very
yeah.
It's like a wizard in space, but not like a Jedi, you know?
Yeah,
there's
I think it's
nanotech, and there's like undead people and just cool shit.
Dragons, bro. That has dragons. That's all I need to know.
It does, yeah.
That's right. And he's sleeping with a wolf.
So I was wondering, so just before you got cut off, you talked about hidden hands perhaps shaping the ability to access teaching material.
Absolutely. I think that the as fractured as they may have been, especially places like Rome, where you had polytheism, many different pantheons, many different orders of belief dependent upon the prayers to a different god, a specific god. Mm-hmm. During those times, people's connection with the natural world was very important. You know, they lived at the mercy of night and day. And so getting in tune with those energies meant a lot. And also, you know, it opened people up to possibilities and the expansion of their own spirituality that I don't think we have today. The consolidation of spirituality into major churches, major religions, especially the ones that come from the Abrahams, the Abrahamic beliefs, I think have not only stifled the growth of humanity's spiritual journey, but has like hindered it. I mean, kept the secrets of growth, you know, of spiritual growth, of connection with Gaia from the people, almost in the same way that the Druids and the Dryads kind of kept secrets. And I'm sure that like the priests of Egypt and Babylon did the same thing. You know, there's certain knowledge that they held, you know, to be the man behind the curtain, if you know what I mean. But they did at some point, these different pantheons did teach spiritual growth to their people. If you were dedicated to Artemis, you learned the secrets of that aspect of the divine. You know, if you were a student of Marduk, you learned those secrets from that aspect of the divine. Consolidating them all under one house and saying, all right, there's God and just God. Now that's it. Now you just go here and you just pray here on this day. And you do this and you do that, and that's it. No real internal work, no real connection with the natural world. And I think that the more corrupt these institutions have become over the last 1,000+ years, that the message, like the true, not even message, but the true connection between people and divinity has been lost. And it's become kind of like a game of politics. And I think that it's true for most major civilizations. Religion and politics were definitely intertwined. You know, my God is a bigger dick than your God. But there was still a connection to the cycle of the year. There was still a connection to the land, to animals. You know, even when they anthropomorphize them, you know, with a different god, especially in the Egyptian pantheons.
So that brings to mind. I got like 3 different thoughts that
go ahead,
from what you're saying. So the first one is we're talking about Rome as the previous heavy hitter. You know, prior to the United States, Rome was perhaps the biggest world power, right?
Oh, it was absolutely. I mean, and in two different incarnations too, because the Byzantine Empire was pretty powerful too.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking Rome knew what they were doing when they sacked Alexandria and burned the library there.
Well, the Muslims did that.
Well, I thought Caesar did that. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure that because I remember reading, and God forgive me, I can't remember the name of the general at that that went and burned that library. They said that if it has anything about Muhammad, we already have it, and if it doesn't, we don't need it. Burn it to the ground.
Interesting. Well, somebody in the chat, drop a comment. Let us know what the
let me know if I'm wrong. Please let me know, because I've been wrong about it before.
No, and same here. You know, I might just have been reading too much like Shakespeare or something. But I'm thinking that was, even though the order was carried out by soldiers and zealots, there was some actual strategy going into it, because that library was said to have contained secrets from before the flood, right? And then
right, could you go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, it's just like
Go ahead.
Losing Alexandria was robbing the world of understanding our what we would call prehistory.
Right.
History of humanity goes back way further than Babylon. You know, it's way further than the cradle. The cradle of civilization was the rebirth of humanity. It wasn't the birth of us.
Correct.
And so, I mean, perhaps if I am wrong, I'd like to know if I'm wrong about the burning of Alexandria. But one of the reasons why it stuck into my mind about that was just the loss of that knowledge due to religious arrogance. There's so many things that have been lost over the ages because my God has a bigger dick than your God.
Dick than yours.
You know what I mean? It's like there's so much knowledge. And for me, I'm sorry, I'll let you go in a moment. It's just that when one of the things that I every now and again I get into a little bit of a fight with Christians, because like their religion has done a lot of damage. Their beliefs have done a lot of damage, and has robbed a lot of native cultures of their land, their peoples, their heritage, their culture,
lives.
Their very their very lives and their spirituality. And not only that, but what it's a pro and a con stole from them, claimed it as their own, or demonized it. And in either case, you did preserve some of that cultural heritage, some of that spiritual knowledge. We wouldn't have Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and a few of without pagan heritage. But it's something that is very personal to me as a person who has sought out his ancestral connection with the divine, with source, with the universe, with God, the world, whatever you call it.
Centuries ago, they would have killed you.
Absolutely. Don't let Fox News fool you. The war on Christmas, the Christians were all fucking at a war on Christmas up until the last century. All right, so it's like shit like that, right? Like a priest could walk into your house in America, 100-something, not even a little over 100 years ago, and fine you or imprison you for setting up a Christmas tree. But we don't talk about that. There's a war on Christmas. Like nowadays.
Once Walmart started selling them,
it became a commercial thing. Then that's the thing, right? Commercialism saved that holiday or promoted that holiday. It is what it is today because of that holiday. But I mean, I know I'm going way off track, but shit, if I want to celebrate Christmas, I'm going to do it in the 1600s in France because they were fucking in the streets on Christmas. The reason that you would huddle in your church on Christmas Eve was because people were outside drinking, giving presents, and banging each other. That's,
there you go.
I mean, like, I'm sorry, very pagan.
It's the ghost of Christmas, ass.
Yes, bro. Yes. Hey, Christmas was the shit back then. Yeah, I mean, get that Yuletide spirit in. You're drumming her in the ass. Right out on High Street.
So the second prong from the thought that you had earlier was how we were talking about how Rome used to go around as the world power, and they would conquer neighboring nation states and then impose their polytheistic beliefs on them, whether through, well, basically at the point of a sphere. And people will be like, well, my God does this and that. And they'd be like, well, that's what Jupiter does. So,
well,
you might
yes,
as well.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
There was definitely an air of arrogance that came from, Almighty Rome. But when they took a province, you're talking about the precursor to Catholicism, the precursor to Christianity.
That's where all this is going. Yeah.
When they took a province, they absorbed it. So much in the same way that you have Jesus Christ, who is a messianic solar deity, traveled with his 12 apostles for the 12 signs of the zodiac through the year. All of that was that entire story in itself, taken from Egypt, taken from very earlier belief systems.
Yep.
Right. So when Rome would come and take, over a province, they would absorb it. They would absorb those. And you're right. They would say, well, Jupiter does that, but there was a certain give and take. That is an image of Jupiter. Much like early Christianity, when they would go and, take over a pagan area, they would absorb the pagan traditions by basically saying, well, you just got the name wrong. That's actually Jesus that's riding the white stag, It's,
Yeah, well, and that's the second half of the second observation here is Rome went about doing that, and then once it encountered Christianity and found that it could not be defeated, they decided to take control of the message. So, the character that we know that as Jesus, whoever that may have been historically, would have been considered a terrorist to the Roman state. So many people get to the point where that was a critical mass event. Well, let's not fight the people anymore. Let's just manage the message.
And it was very easy for them to manage the message. First off, it was a consolidation of power. So now you take all of these different churches that have their own cults. You take all these little cults and polytheism, and you put them under one house. So now all the money is going into one coffer. You also have, the solar messianic story, which is very familiar to everyone at that time.
Yes.
And you also have the demigod story, because Jesus is a demigod.
Yes.
And, so they already knew about Hercules. They already knew about, all of these other figures that had been created, these half gods. It was a familiar story to them. You also, what also gets me is how they took a message of rebellion, right? A message and put it together with his messianic. Right, was put it together with a messianic solar deity, and then turned him into a war god, which in my belief was a lot easier than it was difficult, seeing as that the Jews were a war, they were a war tribe, they were a traveling war tribe for the longest time, so they already, the Kabbalah and all, they already had that built into their system. But yeah, it is an incredible story if you look at it, through the history of events as they took place, and it was ingenious. It was ingenious of Rome to, at that point when they needed to, because their system was falling apart, to take the pantheons and put it under one house and one direction, one control. Caesar had complete control over every priest. A priestess. I'm not sure if there were priestesses at the time in Christianity, but to have control over the soul is to have control over someone's mind and body and emotions. Rome tried to save itself in that way, and in a way it did, because Holy Rome existed all the way. Who was the last Caesar? Who was the last Caesar of Holy Rome? Adolf Hitler. I think it was Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
You know,
the third kingdom, absolutely.
Yeah. Kaiser means Caesar. Yeah,
sure does.
You know,
Kevin Spacey.
Napoleon was a Caesar. You know, like there's been a lot of Holy Rome kept that go, at least for the Western Roman Empire, kept it going for the longest time. You know, it was the Byzantines that I think held the purest version of Christianity alive for as long as they did. You know.
Well, and it's interesting. So you mentioned the solar deity, and I don't think a lot of people who define themselves as Christians really realize that. How the like you were saying, it's basically the story of the Analemma, and about how the sun travels through the sky. Passes through the belt of Orion. It's stalled for 3 days, and then it starts to rise. And you know, all that, the precession of the equinoxes, all this like hidden astronomical knowledge that's wrapped up into the myth.
Yes. COIL, let's talk for just a second, since you brought up the equinox.
I love
about what happened when Moses came down off the mountain, right? When he went up, we got the tablets and he came down off the mountain.
Yep.
What was going on? Everybody was having a great time drinking and fucking around the calf, because the end of the age of Taurus was taking place, and the beginning of the age of Aries. And the reason why he came down and smashed the bull was because, no, we're not in Taurus anymore. We're in Aries. Somebody grab the horn, you know, and begin to blow, the ram's horn.
Yes,
right.
Sir.
Now we are in the age of, can anybody guess? Anybody guess? The age of Pisces. We are coming to the close of the age of Pisces. 2 fish. The Jesus fish.
Yeah. No, it's, and even up to today, the Pope wears a mitre that's supposed to be a fish head.
Yeah, because it's the age of Pisces, and the age of Aquarius is coming. And if you read in the Bible, like even in the New Testament, you know, Jesus says, you know, you will know my return is near or my end is near. I can't remember verbatim. When you see a man at the gates bearing a pitcher of water, that's Aquarius.
That's Aquarius. You know? So real quick, while we're talking about ages, I really believe that the Sphinx was a relic of the age of Leo.
Hell yes.
Yeah, and it's gazing down. Yes. It's gazing down that 38th or 39th parallel, whatever that sacred one is that everything is fucking built on.
Yeah, you can't tell me, COIL, all across the world, all of these different sites built along that parallel.
Oh, well,
you know,
they're trying to ley lines for a second.
I mean, we can go with, dude. There's so much shit we can go into, dude.
That's why I like having you on the show, because when I'm going off by myself, I can talk about a lot of shit, but there's a lot of shit that I don't realize that I know until like I'm bouncing it off of somebody else. So I'm digging it, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Small Time Republic. What's going on, buddy? He says we still aren't sure how old the Sphinx is, right? Yeah, bullshit. There is weather-worn stone from when Egypt was a fucking jungle. You know, that is thousands upon thousands of years older than the Egyptians. The Egyptians came, saw these monuments, and said, "Oh yeah, this is where we're going to chill." You know, like something great was here at one time, and that was the Atlanteans or the pre-Atlanteans.
Sure.
It's the younger people from the younger Dryas, the same people that went
the original 3 pyramids, which were not built by the finger of man.
No, they were not. There's no way. And I believe. I would like to believe. I'm not 100%. I'll be honest, but I would like to believe that they are power plants. Absolutely. Considering, you know. Considering their position and the elements that are involved in the foundation, you know, the limestone.
Yeah, I did a Savage show a couple months ago that really went into that stuff in detail. And if you guys go back in my channel and click the live tab, you'll see an aerial picture of the Giza complex, but it's overlaid with the stars of Orion's belt.
The three kings.
Yep. And it's even like alongside the fucking River Nile, just like the galaxy lines up with the constellation. There's a lot of Sirius and Orion were very very major presences on Earth way back then. But that's other shit.
I mean, well, no, it's not really, because when we were talking a little bit about the Christ myth, and you have the three kings that were leading the way.
Yep.
To if you look at the three kings on the 23rd or the 22nd and the 23rd, they lead directly to the spot where the sun rises.
Where it will rise, absolutely.
Where the astronomical. It's a tale. The entire the story of Jesus' birth is astrological. Absolutely. And if and it's just I used when I was a young pagan, I used to give it a lot of shit, but I don't now, because if you look at it's continuing a long tradition, and I'll point to the Egyptians because we have a lot of Egyptian. There's a lot of information we still have from the Egyptians. Same story. What
do Christians say at the end of every prayer? They say Amen.
They say Amen. It's and I've been corrected so many times about Amen Ra. I'm just like, okay, all right. No, it means this. It came from this, and by the way, let me bring up Josephus, who's a proven fraud. I don't know, but I mean, like one of the things, as I was saying earlier about. Like when I was a younger pagan, I used to be very mad at the Abraham religions, most especially Christianity.
30s. What are we talking about here?
Teens, 20s.
Sure.
You
were an angry lesbian.
when you first go down the path of, wait a minute, the church is lying,
sure.
And you're, for me, looking for my own spiritual path, and so you begin to read history. All right, well, I need to know more. Why is this incomplete? Why is this telling incomplete? Who really were the Druids? Who really were these people? Mm-hmm. And you find out that your ancestors were brutally murdered, put to the sword, genocide. You find out that the propaganda and smear campaigns that happened over 1,000 years ago are why we use the words like witch today, and it upsets you. There's all the history that was lost, all the knowledge that's been lost. People don't know. Long library comes from Druidism. Leaves of a book comes from Druidism. Like there's so many things that we take for granted today that have been hidden or just erased from history.
Were magical bloodlines targeted? Do you believe?
Absolutely. Well, one of the reasons why. So if you look in the Old Testament, the Adam and Eve story. Yeah. It's a fig, right? It's not an apple, it's a fig. It's in their story.
It's even depicted on paintings, yeah.
Right. And the reason that it was changed to apple is because Christianity being a hyper-masculine belief system, they went after the Druids first. They didn't go after the Dryads because they were just women. They're just bitches, right? And so the Isle of Avalon was the last Druidic stronghold while they were building Glastonbury on. And on Avalon, the witches there, or the witches, pardon me, ladies, the Dryads there had apple orchards. And one of the reasons why they had apple orchards is because if you cut an apple at its equator, it has a pentagram in it.
Yes, it does.
And so in order to vilify women and vilify the ladies of Avalon, because they were about women empowerment, just like the Druids were about male empowerment, they turned the story into an apple. So it was an apple that Eve. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know. But if you're, someone like myself going through a journey of understanding who you are spiritually and your ancestral connection, it pisses you off. It's like, well, you changed an entire story for reasons of propaganda to vilify my people.
Yeah.
And to suppress women.
It also vilified EN.KI.
EN.KI is, you know what? EN.KI gonna be around forever. He is the trickster. He lives on through everybody. I love Babylonian lore. That was my favorite growing up. So and Greek. I like Greek. You go back to the Babylon, which is one of the oldest, the Babylonian Mesopotamian lores, and you can read that. Not only is there hints of, I'm not going to say a direct solar messiah story. Marduk, I guess, would be the solar messiah of that story, but you see the precursor to the idea of the Titans and the elder gods. the ejection of the primordial gods, you know, the Cthulhu. You know, you see the precursor to all of those stories from Crete to Roman pantheon, and it really isn't until like the Egyptian era that you see a very heavy solar messianic message. You know,
that always killed me about learning stuff in school, because they would basically tell us that all civilized thought came out of Greece, and that before that we were basically like eating rocks and
that's
wearing
bullshit.
bearskin, when the Greeks are very clear that the source of their knowledge came from the Chaldees. And then you're like, well, what the fuck is the Chaldees? And then the only thing that's really mentioned is like at the front of the book when they're discussing the history of the alphabet, and you see cuneiform.
Well said, dude. And you're right. That's like it's revisionist history is what that is.
Exactly what it is. And then that's targeted. That's like available in your fucking 5th grade library, and that's what they want you to think. And they don't want you to think more about that.
If you want to talk about real white supremacy,
yeah,
then you look at those stories and kind of understand what people are coming from. And you get bits and pieces of information, you know, and then depending on your perspective in the world you live in, you run with it, you know. So to a degree, like just about what you mentioned, I can understand why you have African Americans or Black people that look that, you know, are descendants of slaves or purport to be, because not all Black Americans were descendants from slaves. You know, but you come from that perspective and you say, oh, white people have always been doing this. Yeah, kind of, but they weren't the only ones. They're just the ones that had the most spears at the end of the day, or the most powerful spears at the end of the day. You know, there are tribes, there were civilizations, great civilization, Ethiopian, like the Ethiopian fucking civilization, which was great at one point. They had a lot of influence on the modern world. It's just that empire collapsed. The ones that were left standing in the most recent times of history controlled the way that we view history. They're the ones that revised it, and that's why you get this story about the Greeks. But you know, you're right. That was, the Greeks had some amazing things. They had vending machines. They had computers, not like we know them, but they had them. Right. And the reason that they did was because of the pre-Atlantean civilizations that existed before the great floods, plural floods, there were 2, that survived and were able to pass on their knowledge.
Well, I also think it's important to note that right now, the way that politics are trying to be maneuvered and the shape that those dark hats, let's call them that, would like the world to take, it's easy to vilify the white race, and particularly straight white males, because it serves their end, when really we've seen slavery practiced by you know, like the Aztecs practiced slavery, the Japanese practiced slavery during World War II. You know, the
white people enslaved each other.
Yeah, the Soviets totally enslaved most of their country. You know, so these things they're not the sole domain of white people. It's just politically sexy at the moment to point that finger, because it allows for all that identity politics bullshit, which
you're right. And the identity politics sucks. Everyone should be proud of who they are, because each and every one of us, no matter where you claim to be descended from, has a golden age, has a golden period, contributed something to who we are today. You know,
we're all
like
genetic royalty, man. We're all the same race, you know.
Well, kinda. I kinda. All right, yeah, because you know, okay, if the technology comes available, which I hope it does, that we're able to acquire more DNA, the ability to sequence older hominids, you know, and see, you know, what a Homo erectus is. If we could get some tissue from a Homo erectus and get their genome, or get it, you know, and all of the other Gigantopithecus. I can't pronounce that one.
I know
Gigantopithecus, right. Yeah. I mean, just as an example, but there were so many different hominid races that have existed over the last 500,000 years. I guarantee you, White people are not the only mutants, all right? White and Asian, because right now we know that Neanderthal DNA exists in North Asia and exists in Europe. I myself have 4.6% proud Neanderthal mutant standing right here. And there's probably Devenesian in there. I guarantee, man, and it might not happen in my lifetime, but we will discover that Africans have Homo erectus, or there's a degree of Homo erectus in all of us. I think that we descendants of Cro-Magnon we're mutts. We just outfucked everybody else. Is really what it was. And like, I don't think when I talk about that, like the different races of man, I'm not looking at your skin tone. I'm not saying that like the black race, the white race, the yellow race, the red. Like, no. That's way too oversimplified. We are all humans. All right. A Labrador and a Dane are dogs. Okay. They're canines, but they're different types of canines.
Sure. I'm following.
And that's how I look at people. That's how I look at humans. There are stories about oh God, it was somewhere in the Asian islands. Oh man, the Hobbits. Remember the story? Have you ever heard that?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they were like these little like 3.5 foot, 4 foot hominid,
but
like
perfectly proportioned. They weren't dwarves. They were proportionate.
Yeah.
And I think it was. I read a story about a woman whose grandmother, would tell her stories about, like, there were certain times of the year when whatever they called them, I forget what they called them, like the hobbits would come down from the mountains and raid raid the big people. Like it wasn't that long ago. Because that an entirely other race of human? Yes. That's an entirely different type of breed of human. Are we all the same race? Yes, we're all a human race, but I just believe that we don't have enough genetic material from different breeds of humans to say that like we're all one race. We're all red-blooded. We're all basically the same. We're all basically descended from Cro-Magnon, but there's more than that. There's so much more to the human story.
There is. Now I do want to get into that, but before we do that, I want to acknowledge our Snow Bro right here. The fat.
What is Hail fatties. Caught his show earlier. Great time. I saw Saggy was up there. What Snow has done in the last several years creating Cotton Connection has been amazing, dude. And keep it pushing, because if you're gonna go, you're criminally understubbed. SnoDub criminally understubbed for the talent and the work that he puts into creating his crew, his lunch table, and just building an entire section of YouTube that is now like puppeteering, which is amazing. Amazing.
And I think of all the trans fat people who have gone on to success, I believe SnoDub has stuck to his original vision more so than most. More so than and done it successfully too.
They've been the most consistent, networked the most, has refused to kneel, doesn't take shit. Snow will tell you about your goddamn self, no matter who your friend is. Like, I miss those days when Snow and I would just get on a fucking live stream and just tell people about themselves.
Wow.
Those are good days.
The future's looking good. He's saying a wow late show, and technically, if you want to get like really trippy about this, Lodonis is in the future right now. He's like tomorrow talking to yesterday, and I'm like yesterday talking to tomorrow right now. What the fuck are we smoking?
I don't know, but I feel like eating some mushrooms.
So back to what we were talking about. What you were saying about the different versions of hominids that existed on the Earth, concurrently as Cro-Magnon or Homo sapiens sapiens.
Homo sapiens sapien, yeah.
There's an old Zulu story where they talked about the precursor to modern man, quote unquote.
Really?
This comes from Credo Mutwa. I don't know if you know who that is.
No,
he's dead now. Actually, he was like one of the last like Zulu medicine men from the prior tradition, and like after he died, a lot of knowledge sadly was lost. But what he was saying was that the precursor to modern man were more ape-like, and that they were psychic, and that they were more androgynous than differentiated, and that they were
They were non-binary.
Yeah, well, not in the way that that the people who write the new Star Wars comics are, but, you know,
Right.
like closer to nature. You're talking about how, like, you know, if they needed something to eat, they could command the earth to produce it, and it would happen. But then the gods came down and tricked them into changing their physiology because it would suit the gods. They created man and they created woman, and then the differences in the sexes created this imbalance and this conflict that has persisted to the present day. Now, every myth has its basis in some sort of factual event. So even though that might not literally be true, what I start to wonder is were the early hominids, or the hominids that were concurrent with our modern iteration, were they capable of holding spirit the same way we do? What's your sense about that?
Well, what I like to believe is something very similar to that story. So one of the oldest civilizations that we still have that has a lot of records is the Indian civilization.
Yes.
The Hindu, who talk about, you know, the star people, the sky people, same as Native Americans, that came down and changed man. There's also a story in the Babylonian tales, you know, the you know, EN.KI and Enlil and Marduk, where the gods came down from the sky and changed people, and, you know, made us into what we are today, so that we could collect minerals, gold, and other precious materials for them.
Yep.
And during that transformation, in the Babylonian mythology, we lost the ability to live long. Apparently, the precursor Cro-Magnon lived like hundreds of years, which is another tale that you can find in like the Old Testament, where humans lived for a very long time. In the Hindu mythology, humans lived a really long time before we were changed. I do believe that there was some event that happened, whether it was aliens, extraterrestrials, whether it was, you know, extra dimensional, or godlike people. I do believe that there was an event that separated us or changed us in a way that made us, you know, less connected to spirit, and we were not able to channel spirit as we had. I think that also has a lot to do with why the pineal gland is, you know, is calcified, or there, you know, is at that point where it's going through calcification, it's deformed. I believe that, in another sense, I think that our civilization, our peoples, were getting more toward reconnecting with that former part of ourselves, that former incarnation of ourselves, through natural religions, nature religions, and is another reason why it has been suppressed over the last 2,000 years. You know, true knowledge.
It's interesting too. The Zulu tell I was just telling you does have a parallel in the Greek mythology, where there was a golden age of man.
Yes.
Where we were walking with the gods and doing this and that. And then again, our form was fucked with. And then we became this, you know, I mean, we're passionate and creative and all that, but we're slightly stupider, and we don't have access to the same tech, you know.
And in all of those stories, from Marduk to the Zeus, to Ra, like in all these different stories, there is one amongst the gods, you know, more powerful people, who think that this is wrong and rebel against, you know, the elders, the ancient gods.
Absolutely.
And which is, you know, when you see tales like that, it's like there's got to, from all across the world, there has to be a grain of truth. There has to be some truth, you know. One of the gods stood up for us, the people that changed us, and said, "This ain't right. We're treating these people like shit," and fought for us. It's like an unsung hero, you know.
Well, and that only makes sense because if you're going to create a race, it would follow that you would be judged based off of how you treated that race. You know, that's kind of a measure of a man moment, but it's applicable right here.
Well, we got a lot of. Is there anything in the chat you want to say hi to?
Oh yeah.
We've got a lot of cool comments.
Yeah, we got RR coming up. He's saying the 6th Infinity Gem is the Cotton Bowl.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's also coming back and talking about Neanderthals. Yeah, another race, and that's another thing that's always bothered me too, is how cavemen or whatever are portrayed as like something climbed out of the fucking ocean, and
they weren't stupid.
A reptile, and then that reptile turned into a monkey, and then the monkey learned how to make tools and clothe itself, and then it moved into caves, and then it learned how to domesticate animals. When I think I had this real sense, and you want to talk about like Atlantis or Lemuria or Mu or something.
Oh, we could bring Lemuria. You go ahead.
Humans were created and installed in the cities of the gods to be workers. Like you're saying in the Sumerian text, it said there was no Adam to till the earth.
Right.
And then once those cities fell because they destroyed themselves, we were forced out of those urban centers and had to contend with the fucking elements. So yeah, some people moved into caves, and other people moved into the jungle, and other people moved into the desert. You know, that to me makes more sense than, you know, being a half retarded monkey who learned how to make a stone chop axe. You know?
I'm not going to take anything away from evolution. I think that there's an amount of credence to the idea, but
evolution is a process. It just doesn't completely tell the tale of the human organ, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, like COIL. One of the reasons why people really enjoy playing things like D&D or watching like Lord of the Rings or something like that is because 100,000 years ago, not even 100,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, there was more than one race, more than one type of human walking the earth. There was a bunch of us at the same time, especially 100, 120,000, 150,000 years ago. There's a bunch of us.
Yeah.
Which is why I think we just, we outscrewed them all. Cro-Magnon, Homo sapien sapien. We just, we're the result. We are the result of a lot of kinky sex.
Oh yeah.
And when it comes like you're talking about the Neanderthal, like they're not stupid people. They acclimated to their environment. Their clans were small because food was scarce in the ice shelves, like in Ice Age Europe. Had they evolved like Cro-Magnon in the cradle of civilization, North Africa and Eurasia, then they would have, they probably might still be around. But they were pushed out of their lands by expansion, by a changing climate that they had evolved into. And then, we were fucking Neanderthal chicks. Let's be real. Let's just, sure. Humans are kinky. We were like, hey, I'll trade you one of mine for one of yours.
Well, there's a girl in Mexico who will fuck a donkey. Then I think a guy would fuck a Neanderthal chick.
I'm just saying, if I had a time machine, one of my adventures, COIL, would be going back and banging different hominids. I would just do that, like
do it for the fuck of it.
Look, even Homo erectus had to have a 10 somewhere out there. You know what I mean? Like there had to be the present day equivalent of an Instagram hoe, amongst those tribes. There's had to have been. They're walking around. They're not wearing tops. You've seen the History Channel and things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, it's like there's probably an analog society to like the bonobo. Those chimps that just fuck all the time for no reason.
That's what I'm saying.
Part of their social, like, hi, how you doing? Let's fuck.
Hi.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like dolphins, right? And they don't care. Yeah. Dolphins are gay as shit. They'll bang their buddy. Like, I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm going gay. What I'm saying is that I would go back in time and I would bang one of the Hobbit people. Like I'd wear a rubber, but I would go around.
Yeah, that's why Dr. Strange won't give you the time stone. Where's Steven? He's out fucking again. Fucking with his hobbits.
You banged a Gigantopithecus? How did you even do that? Well, they liked fruit.
Right.
We were talking around the fire while we were grunting around the fire. You had a melon. She was like, "What's that?"
So
So bend over and I'll show you.
Hit over the head with my club and dragged her back to the cave.
I would totally schmooze a Gigantopithecus chick. All right, she would want it. I got game. I just paleo game.
So it's interesting to me. Neanderthals actually had a slightly larger brain size than we did, which I don't necessarily think that automatically makes them smarter. But I do believe things like culture and mythology and music and oral tradition existed within their societies. I mean, obviously, if we were compatible with them and we were banging them and all that kind of stuff, there must have had to been some commonality.
They had ceremonial burial. If they had ceremonial burial, that means that they believed that something happened to the spirit, that there was a spirit within us. They had a religion. They had something
red, just like And then I also know,
Divination too.
Anatomically, they did possess a hyoid bone, which is the bone in your throat that your vocal cords talk to. So they were capable of making speech and vocalizations.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've found like any mummies or anything like that. I know that their genome has been sequenced, but
yes, it has.
If there is some way to determine if they had like a highly developed language center like ours, or perhaps they existed before language was invented, because that's also another thing that came out of Chaldean sources. How let us go down and confound their language. And
you're going to tell me, as much as human beings like to screw, all right, you're going to tell me that when the first tribe figured out how to hit on a chick, that they didn't develop language. I the sign language, something. All right, like something. The idea, the hubris of modern man is one of the most destructive things to our expansion and understanding of prehistory, of our prehistory. Because there was a whole lot of history going on there. We don't give enough credit to these different races of humans, these different breeds of humans. We don't. It's all about the hubris. We're the best version of us. No, we're not, dick. You're okay. There are artifacts that are taken from everywhere from South Africa to Asia. The bowl and the cone. You familiar with the bowl and the cone?
Yes, I am.
Right. Okay. So you're with the legend behind these items that they were used for levitation.
Maybe you should describe it, just in case some of our viewers are new to the topic.
Okay. I'll say a bigger than your hand, a little bigger than your hand sized bowl with a hole in the center of it. And they're usually found with a cone, about 6 inches, about 6 inches long. Not a dick. All right, guys. All right. But it's got a fat end that's usually about 2 inches in diameter at one end, and then going down to a rounded point. And these artifacts are found in many different parts of the ancient world. And the stories behind them from different areas, as I said, from like South African area to Eurasia and the Asian islands, is that they were used for levitation. They were instruments that helped to create a sound wave, which could levitate rock, could levitate anything. Let's just say that is a reality. Okay. They knew how to use sound waves in order to create levitation. Who says that they couldn't use those same sound waves to, say, break rock, or as a weapon, or as a tool of construction?
Sure.
Look at the perfectly formed and fitted rocks at the top of Machu Picchu.
Yep.
All right.
Look at the knife blade between them.
Can't get a knife blade between them. Technology as we understand it is not available. You would have to melt down these stones to reform them. and they're trying to say that they're trying to say that like pre-Mayans walked these stones and did it with like a chisel and a hammer. Yeah, sure. And they did the same thing with the obelisks. Yeah, and the Great Pyramids. Sure. But if
it was a bunch of logs and Jews, right?
It was a bunch of logs and Jews. It was slaves. Slaves did it. Yeah, my ass. Hey, slave labor does help an early burgeoning civilization to create a good infrastructure, but there is always a rebellion that ensues at some point. See Spartacus. And so I'm looking at
Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus, dude. I love that fucking show. And that's why but ancient Civ, prehistory Civ, because of the hubris of modern man, we don't allow for excavations with open minds that would, look further into some of these obvious clues that there have been superior, very different, not explosion based, not combustion based as we live in now, types of technologies, probably more either sound, vibration, or light, that existed before what we consider our history. And much in much in the same way that I am of the mind that we don't give enough, we don't get enough credit, or we don't think about, pre-Cro-Magnon man, different breeds of man, that could have damn well built civilizations, language, art, culture, religion. All those things could have already been done. They just died out or were out fucked. I like the out fuck theory, because that means that we fucked the most. So
we did. We fucking won.
We fucking won. We fucked the Neanderthals to death. 150,000 years ago, the Homo erectus were doing well in Asia. All right. I will bet you the Homo erectus had slanted eyes. And I'm not saying that to be racist. I'm just saying the Asians outfucked them, and they got the eyes.
When the dragons came down, they changed the Homo erectus into.
Oh, let's not even get into dragons, man, because there were beasts that lived at some point that we would call dragons.
Oh, absolutely.
I truly believe that.
Absolutely. For every one of our crazy anthropomorphizing of mythological beasts, nature can come up with something like pretty damn fucking close.
It came up, yeah.
You think about like all the weird stuff that lives around like volcano vents on the bottom of the ocean, and you think about what might be flying around in the atmosphere of Jupiter.
Yes, dude. Yes, yeah. And that's Saturn, right?
Yeah, same. The moon Titan. There's the ice world of Europa. What the fuck is under there?
I will bet you there are fish as big as the ones from the Phantom Menace.
There you go.
On Naboo. I guarantee it.
Yeah, or some sexy fish woman.
And if there is, and there's a little DNA connection, maybe I'll use a machine.
Steven's gonna fly to Europa and fuck a fish.
Listen, I've been through some serious shit. All right, my soul was sucked through my dick by a succubus. I will fuck anything now. Look, I don't think
Kirk, man.
Yeah, bro. Listen, I don't think that it's out of the realm. All right, like COIL. Let's just say we had a time machine. Let's just say we had a hot tub time machine, and we went back 170,000 years, right? And we got stuck. We're stuck. Shit. All right. We can fix it, but it's going to take a while because we got to manufacture the shit to fix it. And that's going to take a while because we got to manufacture the shit in order to manufacture the shit in order to make the shit that we need to fix it. We're going to be here a while. All right. And we're sitting around that tree in Africa, the one that like the fruit ferments and falls down and all the animals come around and just fucking drink and, hang out.
Right.
All right. Right. We're there. Okay. And this hot fucking erectus. She's, in modern day, that's a 2, but we're stuck 170,000 years ago. She's looking an awful lot like we're 3 melons in. She looks an awful lot like a 6 or a 7 right now. And what if you find out? What if you find out that Homo erectus pussy is better than human pussy? Like better, not human. What is human? But is better than Homo sapien sapien pussy? Like what if they're all squirters? Who knows what could be discovered?
So
I'm just saying.
You really became your own great grandfather. Like you're gonna fuck that thing. It's gonna have a. It's gonna have a
call
kid.
her a thing. Don't call. That's a human being too.
Okay, you're gonna fuck that woman. She's gonna have a kid that's like half sapien, half erectus.
Yeah.
And then eventually, throughout time, 100,000 years later, Stephen, you're gonna be there. Lodonis.
Yeah, the Walton family line emerges. I don't think
it's like a paradox that needs to happen.
You need to bring up. Listen, right now. Listen, Coil. As we're having this very deep spiritual conversation, can you bring up a web page with the different types of hominids that's been around for the last few 100,000 years?
Sure.
Let's bring up the monkey tree. Yeah, bring up the human tree. Let's go through. And you know what, chat? Work with us here. All right, we want to know in the chat, like yay or nay. All right. Well, matter of fact, let's do a hominid fuck, marry, kill. I mean, while we're doing this.
Let's see here.
And you cannot use sapien or Cro-Magnon. All right, because they're basically us. So you can't choose them. We already know you're gonna fuck a human, a Cro-Magnon chick. Yeah, I wonder if Cro-Magnon pussy would be better than sapien pussy.
I guess there's only one way to find out, huh?
We need a time machine. There are things that need to be discovered right now. We need to get these ancient civilizations, these ancient technologies, where they could do this shit. Because in Mexico City, all right, which is built in a swamp, if you dig down 3 feet, you're gonna find a clay tablet of 1,000-year-old Pablo riding a fucking Triceratops. Like that's some shit that you see in Mexico City.
Sure.
They were time traveling, or there were motherfucking dinosaurs around 1,000 years ago in that area.
Okay.
All right, and they didn't. I don't think the Aztecs had paleontologists. All right, I'm just saying. Which brings up the other question: do you think if they did that, because there's a lot of weird kinks in the human race, do you think they fucked their dinosaurs? Do you think they're like someone at some point?
Well, that guy at Busch Gardens fucked a fucking flamingo, man. So
he fucked a flamingo. That just came out of Mortal Coil's mouth.
There's a girl in Tijuana right now going down on a burro.
I mean, yeah.
All right, so here we go. This is Steven's hot Australopithecus bitch with she's got a nice rack, I guess.
Where's she at? She down at the bottom?
She is the third over. So you got monkeys, you got other apes.
All right, we ain't fucking with them. Okay, those aren't options. You get AIDS that way. All right, but keep going.
Right. And then you got Homo habilis. You see him with his hand axe there. That literally translates to handy human.
Homo habilis.
We have the Hobbit, which is right here in the middle. We see here on the lower right-hand side, we have a representation of the Hobbit. She's holding a stick. It says
yes,
Hobbit
my
is
stick.
Related to Homo habilis, then they are an unrecorded early migration from a more primitive human in Africa. Hobbits
I think.
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna. I'm sorry. Listen, all I'm trying to say is, of this whole tree of people, right? If you say you would fuck a Cro-Magnon Magnum midget, then you'd have to bang one of those two. I'm just okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
So this other one says if hobbits are island dwarfed Homo erectus, then their evolution in isolation involved a lot of interesting evolutionary reversals to a primate state. Now I think we're looking at a
like a reversion.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's like they got separated and then like devolved. I think that they're just a separate
no. On that island was the most amazing paleo weed ever and they just stayed there. And that happened. So I'm not saying the weed did that.
Higher up on this tree, we got Homo erectus, where you see there's the female in the middle.
Yeah, bangable.
There's a Homo erectus in Africa, Homo erectus in Asia. Neanderthals are next.
Bangable, obviously.
Bangable. Denisovians, they're getting more bangable.
Yes, by the day.
Then we have Homo sapiens, represented by the silhouette of Oppenheimer.
See, yeah, look at the silhouette of the fucking Homo sapien. He's got a jacket on and shoes and a hat. Like, how fucking elitist is that? That Homo sapien would fuck at least three. At least three of those cousins. Yes.
Depending on what he had to drink. Right?
I'm asking. Listen, my descendant of European blood brother. Okay, listen. We have Neanderthal in us, so if we banged one, that wouldn't be sick. I mean, it's like it's our cousin. We're part of that. We're part of that genome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a recorded fact.
Yeah, I'm 4.6%.
I would think that we had access to the last at least 3, if you want to go down.
Absolutely, I believe that. Yeah,
if you want to go down that route.
I don't think
it's like you're saying you get stuck somewhere and that's all you have.
See, this is my question. Right, you get stuck somewhere. That's all. I'm not talking about being trapped. All right, I'm just saying. Listen, you're telling me that the earlier versions of these humans, all right, our cousins, weren't fucking one another. You don't think a Gigantopithecus came along and saw one of the handy oblas, right? And was like, hey, I'm going to get this whether you give it to me or not. And totally Danny Masterson, that fucking family, right? You're not telling me that wasn't a possibility, that we are not a grouping of a lot of cake that became Homo sapiens sapien.
Well, it certainly happened. Well, and you also kind of look at it this way too. Holy sacred texts are rife with examples of gods or whatever coming down and mating with human women, which is kind of the same thing if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. So somebody that can build a machine that's capable of flying like trillions of light years across the universe to come and fuck our beautiful women, because we do have some beautiful women.
We do.
It's kind of the same thing if we went back through time and found one of these Homo erectus or whatever. It's the same sort of idea. And if that was done to us, then what are we going to do to the next one? What
if at some point in the future my theory holds and we build time machines, and then we end up going back in time and banging and that's how it changed. That's how the story began.
We'll call it like the Waltonian Principle.
Yes,
like if you build a time machine and you go back in time, the Waltonian Principle dictates that you must
have sex with an hablas.
All right, yeah, the early hominid. That's the Waltonian Principle. You sick fuck. Yeah, this is a savage part of the show.
Yes, this is savage spirituality. All right. Yeah. I'm just, but on a serious note, all of that humor does come from the question that I have, which is, if various different breeds of canines can interact, have sex, create new breeds. Eventually, as time goes on, due to environment or husbandry, whatever. How is it possible? I think it might be. Is it possible that these different earlier hominids that had sex and created different versions, and if those versions thrived, passed that DNA down into us? I just, are we human beings have a lot of hubris about who we are, sapiens. I think that we are a merging of a lot of different humans, types of, breeds of humans into one. Like, that's really kind of where I'm at with it. And I think that's why I think it's not just regional evolution or environmental evolution. I think that is one of the reasons why you have vastly different looks or ability within what some people would say the different races of man, And in that case, if that is the case, I think that it makes our species way more interesting and beautiful to be that different, because we are a group, different groupings of earlier hominids who had come together and eventually bred into one. So that's kind of where all that humor comes from. But at the end of the day, it's, we fucked them out. We out fucked them. It's
yeah. Well, and it helps to sort of use humor to introduce ideas like this, because they're not everyday ideas, and they're not things that most people are even comfortable talking about. But it also, on top of this idea of our compatibility with earlier versions of hominids, if we have like extraterrestrial races coming down here attempting to hybridize us with their own genomes, so we're not only compatible with earlier versions of hominids, we're compatible with like beings across the stars.
I mean, I'm fucking an alien, Coil. I'm letting you know that. If look, now I'm not into the anal probe thing, as you all know. I don't do ass. I don't. Not my exit only. But
no butt stuff, huh?
I'm just, no. The other guy was getting pegged, not me. And so but if an alien came at me and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stick it," I'd be like, "Yeah, can we do something else? Can we try something else?" Because I don't, I'm just saying I would bang an alien, like just to say that I did.
Oh yeah. I
I'm sorry.
No. I think a lot of us, given the right circumstances and the right opportunity, I think
let's just say you're stuck on Alpha Centauri, right? Or Proxima. Let's just say, you build a ship, you got there, and you're stuck there for a while. And in order to fix the ship, you're gonna need to manufacture something, in order to construct what you need in order to fix the ship to get back to Earth. And you're there for a long time. And out of nowhere, this, three-legged, one-titted fucking alien comes out of the fucking tree line. You're talking, you get to know her, you trade some spices. Who knows what happens? You get some hand signals, and you fuck her. What,
The Waltonian Principle again asserts itself.
I don't like the word
you're always like stranded on some fucking weird city or planet or something. It's like, there's tentacles, and the tentacle can kind of make like a donut shape, so why the fuck not?
I'm supposing. This is a hypothesis. That's all it is. It's like, would you or would you not? I think anybody would.
That's silly.
Am I projecting? Maybe, but I'm just saying. I think anybody in that situation would be like, yeah, get one off.
And I guess if we're not like exactly genetically compatible, and there's no like viable offspring, the worst that happens is that you get laid.
You have an orgasm. It's not very difficult for a man. You just got to stroke it. You need a fucking strong wind some days. You know what I mean? If you're starting to get real desperate, but I mean, no. Actually, the worst thing that may happen is you get like a VD that never that you've never encountered before. It's then don't French kiss her.
When you're on the other side, you'd have an interesting story to tell about how you died.
How long ago?
When you're in that Beetlejuice room where the guy was his head and all that.
Right.
And your dick's like purple and like whatever. And you're just like, I was stuck and my machine was broken and I had to invent the thing to invent the thing.
And... Right. What manufacture? Yeah. Right. Exactly. Hey, if I could go back far enough to meet those androgynous things from the Zulu legends, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
You're your own.
You stuck there.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we got RR. He's cracking up. He's digging this stuff. It's interesting. We float out good ideas and silly ideas sometimes, but
we're fatties.
It's all yeah. We're just we're crude males who are at the same time walking gods. It's a very interesting dichotomy.
I like the way that you put that. Thank you. That makes me feel better about my perversion.
Yeah.
back kisses are necessary, and we are giving back kisses across the entire stretch of humankind. So,
yeah, the back hole, as Angus would say.
Yes, absolutely, the back hole. Yes, yes, sir. People like DJ got 2 of them.
Yeah.
Doubly blessed.
There you go.
Well, just real quick, just a sidetrack, just for a second, no, Coil, just for a second, all right? Because there have been a lot of stories of alien abductions,
yes,
where there's been, kinky shit, sexual shit happening, and including some legends which say that the Men in Black are actually human alien hybrids. Travis Walton, he was abducted up in PA, where I'm at right now, and got banged by. He got banged by an alien. Yeah, not this branch. And like, what are your thoughts on the possibility that there is another race as kinky as we are that come to Earth to bang humans?
Well, I think that's very much directly related to how our present genome was manufactured. If you believe the writings about the Anunnaki, they would come down and find something that basically resembled something like we were just looking at, something like Homo erectus or Australopithecine or Homo habilis, something that was on its way to becoming sentient and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't
like the Rookie Critic.
Yeah, exactly. Something kind of like that. But then the Anunnaki would come in and jumpstart that evolution. Now you want to call that gene splicing, you want to say whatever. And the Sumerian tablets, Enki and Ninharsog, both were the chief scientists who created the atom, which is not only the name of the proper name of a being, but that became the name that identified the phenotype, right?
Yes.
And then what happens after that is that they made us in their image after their likeness. So essentially we more or less look like tiny versions of them. Because also if you look at the cylinder sills, they were somewhere between 8 feet to 12 feet, 15 feet tall in some instances. Whereas we were like how we are, whatever, 6, 7 feet.
Well, I mean, I think that actually I would think a little bit bigger than that, because and only due to the mummies or the grave sites of giants that have been found, and well, so I think that humans would probably be about 12 feet, around there, 12, 15.
So we have this idea of the Nephilim, where there's a hybrid that's.
He brought up the word Nephilim. Where's Final Death Star? Where is he at?
I had to. I know.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and we have these stories even from the Bible about how the sons of the gods came down and saw that the daughters of men were fair and took from amongst them whoever they chose to be their wives, and children were born of them. They were called the Nephilim. They were the heroes of old and renowned. You go into the extra biblical book of Enoch, which was canon for a long time until the Second Council of Nicaea, and then suddenly it's not mentioned anymore because they're trying to bury that bone, right?
Yeah, they're through the Catholic the Vatican basement.
Yeah. So it's interesting. More often than not, I think it was the male gods who came and took the daughters. A lot more rare were instances where a human male bred with a goddess, and I'm using those terms loosely. It's not in the sense that pagans understand gods and goddesses. It's in the sense that the tablets were describing these things. And
the vessels of reproduction are women.
There you go. So you have an instance where King Gilgamesh, the Darmok and Jalad Tanagra, right? King Gilgamesh, he claimed he was 2/3 divine because his mother was a goddess and his father was a human male. And the sense that he's describing it is, okay, I have not only my mother's off-world half as part of my genetics, but I also have her mitochondrial DNA, which is only carried through the female side. So yes, 2/3 divine. That makes sense. So, hey, Gilgamesh's dad, I gotta buy you a beer, sir. I might have. Could
you imagine the nut that he would have had and goddess pussy? I mean,
Oh, totally, dude. You got this like 9-foot tall woman who's ragingly beautiful.
Probably. Yeah, I hope he was hung like a freaking Mexican donkey.
He would have had to be like massively impressive just to be like noticed.
Have to be. And yeah,
you would.
The 12-incher would be like less than average there.
Well, and you hear stories of like Ishtar, who was quite promiscuous, and she had more than one human king that she installed on thrones to be her like the man behind the nation, like galvanize your armies and fight for me, god damn it, because you know somebody else is pissing me off. But those kings would always get to their position by mating with her. You know, and obviously the stories have, you know, turned into she was the precursor for Venus. Inanna Ishtar is like all over the Indo-European continents, you know.
Hail the goddesses,
yeah. So
and that's the power of true femininity, like the real power of, and you know, a goddess head, a woman with goddess head, you know, which is the ability to control men using her sexuality.
Absolutely.
And that's what those stories are really about, you know.
Real quick, we got RR saying Drew could service her. Beware the Drew.
Yes, he could. Absolutely.
The dong, the legendary dong.
Give us all a bunch of 2/3 god kids. Yeah.
There you go. One, it's interesting too, because Inanna Ishtar, whatever you want to call her, was also responsible for inventing the station of the divine prostitute, and not necessarily that you would go and pay a woman to fuck, but that you would be inside of a woman contemplating the goddess.
And that is due. Well, I mean, that is due to a very, very basic spiritual practice. I mean, they're one of the reasons why, even to this day, Wiccans celebrate the Great Rite, because a woman who is hypersexual actually has a lot of healing energy, a lot of spiritual power. And it has to do with the exchange from men, you know, of course, the balance of masculine and feminine, because of the exchange of energy that she's getting from them. This is why whores piss me off, because, you know, if a whore was a good person, then they could actually facilitate a deeper connection with divinity through the act of sexual exchange through the pineal. And this is something that it's been proven over and over again. It's a lot of ancient philosophies, you know, understand this principle. It's also, in my opinion, why sex has been another reason. Those good old Abraham religions, another reason why sex has been vilified by the newer belief systems, and newer, I mean the last couple thousand years, is to sequester that information and to keep us from like a better understanding of the exchange of energies between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. But you know, if you look at it's why the apple, it's why the story of Adam and Eve, it's why it was changed from a fig to an apple. It's divine feminine is as much important as divine masculine, and but it has its own set of power. It has its own set of energies. We are different. Right? There's two genders, okay, and there's a reason why. You know?
Real quick, we got the rookie critic joining us.
Look at this, man. Rookie, I got to ask you a question. Listen, this is a serious trans fatty question, okay? Snow missed it. We need to ask you. If you had a time machine, all right? Let's say you had a time machine and you went back in time and you were stuck. Let's just say it broke. Like, it's, you know, you're a the hot tub time machine broke. And you were going to be there for a minute. and you'd have to manufacture something to fix whatever you needed, to get what you needed to fix the time machine. And let's just say, like, well, I'm not talking like 100 years. I'm talking like 200,000 years. You're stuck way back in the past. And at some point during this, during this construction, you see a hot Homo habilis, or Homo erectus, all right, which in today's standards might be a 2 or 3, but you've been stuck there for a while, so it's kind of looking like a 6. Would you bang it? Like, would you have sex with another breed of human? It's not that far from like a lab and a pit bull having sex, right? It's another type of human. Would you do that? And would it be for recreation or science? Thank you, Rookie.
The chat is truly fat tonight. Man, we got all this representation.
Yes, we do.
Here. We also got Matthew Lutzka joining us. What's up?
Hey!
Matthew? Thanks for coming on board, sir.
God, now that I think about it, I hope nobody from the Narcissistic Abuse Awareness and Recovery community comes over here, because I did share a link over there on that channel.
Oh, that's all
for
good,
the show.
Man.
Guys, if you come here, I'm not the person you normally know tonight. I'm sorry.
We have multifaceted personalities here. Everything is according to plan.
Rookie, would you bang him or not? You didn't answer yet. I need to know.
Yeah, throw it in the chat, Rook.
Hey, Matthew. Hey, you're welcome. Okay, back in time, stuck. RR, back in time, stuck. Gonna be there a long time. You come across another breed of human. Would you bang it, like an earlier hominid? All right. Thank you. I'm waiting. Yes, no pressure, RR. I'm waiting. All right. This is a very serious thing.
So we were talking about something interesting just a minute ago, how the idea of that sacred prostitute, where a woman conscious of her connection to the divine invites you into her body to contemplate the divine. And it's not just about getting the nut. It's more tantric than that.
It's tantric sex, right? It's creating a something that I'm not going to go to her. One thing that I had wanted to do with a woman that I had I thought I had a deep spiritual connection with was something like that. It was a tantric meditation. You sit down Indian style. She would sit on you, and you would go through energetic meditation. Because that cycle, that's a loop that's created when you're having sex. It's an energy loop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like the idea of join at the root. Yes. And just as a magician, as a mage, the magic that can be done. When I've used it, I've had sex where the climax was the casting aspect,
right.
It is absolutely I think another reason why they're trying to make everybody non-binaries and trying to fucking fuck up our genders and shit is because that's a basic principle, a basic connection energetically between people, that the tantric sex.
Yes. And
it's something that is being polluted or vilified, or another aspect of us that's being perverted, diluted, in order to eliminate the deeper connections that we have to one another, through heterosexual sex. I don't know if gay sex do the same thing, Immortal. Let me ask you something. All right. So let's just say you're red gays. Okay. Because Red believes that if you're a taker, right? If you're taking head from a guy, then it's not gay. Okay. So let's just say you're red gays, and we're taking it to the fatties. This is like, and you're taking it. You're getting man love. Is there an energy exchange that happens, in your opinion?
That's a question for Osiris.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
So
you were saying
the results of your poll is in here. The rookie critic is saying, "I'd probably do it on the grounds that time travel is successful, and for all I know, our banging is what brings forth the human race."
Rookie is the progenitor of the human race. All right, so he's going to bang a hobbless. All right, thank you. I wanted to know. And what does Snow say?
Our Snow bro is saying, "Me 20 years ago would probably hit it for science. Me these days would probably just find a bunch of gold and bury it where I can find it when I come back to current time."
Would you bury it after banging the chick? Like, what is it? You know, I'm asking. Are you saying that 20 years ago Snow would have slept with a Gigantopithecus, but today he would not?
I guess. I guess he's come along in his old age, huh?
Coming along, phrasing, immortal.
Nothing is by accident.
You see, you know, RR said he's good with it.
Yeah,
RR is the man right now. Yeah, RR. Thank you for being honest, sir. And that's a beautiful thing. Rookie Critic says that's why he wouldn't bring. That's why he wouldn't bang the chick. She would be a gold digger.
Gold digger.
Fucking fatties, you bastards. Where's Angus?
He's out there somewhere.
And Snow says the more I get old, the older I get, the more I realize pussy so much better than bunny is so much better than pussy. Yeah, I hear you. And he says 20 years ago I was walking hard on. These days I can take it or leave it. I understand. Hey, I'm around the same age group now, Snow. You know, we're the same age. I get it. I'm saying that, like, you know, maybe I'm just bored. I know you get it on the steady. You've got a hot wifey. I don't. All right. I'm attracted to toxic whores, and that's just what it is. But so I'm saying, like, I would, you know, I would for science and recreation. That is where I'm at with it. And yeah, and like I was saying, Rookie, you missed this part earlier, but and RR and Snow is here. But if you are a person who in today's world said, you know what, maybe I'll bang a midget, then if you went back in time, you'd have to bang a Hobbit. You'd have to bang one of those two. You know, like, why not? Who knows what's going on?
And you also have to think, I mean, if we're going to fully entertain the Waltonian Principle here.
Thank you, COIL. Thank you.
Yeah, we've coined a new a law of physics.
Mm-hmm.
You would be, in this scenario, the most advanced being on the planet.
You would. You would, a divine penis.
Yeah, even if you were not attracted at all to the females of the society, they would automatically look at you as alpha because of what you represent and what you know. I mean, you could show them a picture on your smartphone and they'd just fucking lose their shit. You could light up a light, they would lose their shit.
Right.
You know,
you would light a cigarette and they would lose their shit.
They would lose their shit.
The question then becomes, because now I'm interested in the social dynamics of our cousins, is, you know, would the guys become jealous and try to retain alpha, to regain that? Would they, or would they be like dudes who have girlfriends who love boy bands and they would like try and emulate you? You know, like, how would that happen?
It could, but you know, I also wonder about this. If we're talking about hominids in the wild contending with the elements, they would have a completely different physical, like they'd be naturally buff. So if they decided to fight you, I mean, you better know kung fu or something, because, you know, suppose they did see you as a threat.
You're going back in time. You've got a weapon. We are taking weapons.
Okay, so if you have an AK or something, then
9mm would be fine.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be an issue. But it's kind of like, okay, what happens when ships crash land here? We try to grab the aliens and like cut them open and see what the fuck's inside them. What's the say they wouldn't want to try to, or we would try to fuck them?
That's what I'm saying. Because there's some perverts out there, and they're in the government too. You know, like, let's say you're a private who's, you know, hasn't had any in a while, and you know you're transporting these, you know, half beat up crashed aliens.
Ooh, RR came up with a good one. Qualton Mechanics.
Thank you, RR. Appreciate that.
That's gonna be Steven's like a science magazine now.
Yes.
He's gonna write all this shit down and charge you $19.95 a month.
They're gonna be polling history. That's what we're gonna do. I don't know. I like, there's definitely a freak out. There's definitely a freak out there that, like, I don't care. Humans are disgusting. There's a freak out there that would jerk off on an alien and take a picture just to say they did it. You know what I mean? Like that. I'm telling you, that is a thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you did say something earlier that kind of got my mind going.
Was it serious?
A little bit. We're trying to rein this in a little bit.
Okay, my bad. All right, I'm cool.
That's all good. That's all good. We have fun. We'll have some fun later.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude. It's good having you on the show. You talked about the sacred exchange of sexual energy.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about the idea that perhaps gender dysphoria is being weaponized against that to prevent people from having that peak experience or from accessing the information or the potential magical ability that sacred sex offers. Is there anything to that thought, man?
Well, actually, I think it's multi-layered. The reason that they are promoting gender dysphoria is because a lot of people don't understand it. You know, okay, first off, like androgyny, which they call what they thems now, the non-binary.
Yeah.
You know, that's always been a thing.
Yes, it has.
Androgyny has always been a thing. And
So
that
is
has to do.
homosexuality.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There was 2 gay guys in the first fucking human tribe. Absolutely. You know, they were the ones that did the hair. Adam and Steve took care of your hair. You know, they cleaned up the camp. Guys, for real, can you please mop up the charcoal when you're done? No,
not to be confused with Steve N, who's fucking homo house.
Hey, that hapless was looking at me. She peered out behind that tree, and she liked the banana that I had.
Bent over and pointed it at you.
You know, I gave her back kisses. It was a little difficult. It got some hair in my mouth. No.
Her big red ass was.
Stop, Coil. I'm trying to be serious. So,
all right. Go ahead.
So as I believe in reincarnation.
Yes.
And I think that as we travel down through, as our soul travels through each incarnation, that it's meant to gain wisdom, gain experience from the different hosts in which it habitates, which is why it is very important for us to be good people to each other and perform what we are meant to perform in this life so that we can add to that soul, we can add to that experience before it moves on. And as it travels through those experiences, it goes through male and female forms. One of the results of that is androgyny. You're going to get people who are born who are just androgynous, may possibly even asexual if the role they are meant to learn in that life has nothing at all to do with sexual exchange. And I think that's just a natural part. And that's a low percentage of people, right? This is a low percentage of people that go through this. I believe that the explosion of a few things, the explosion of our population, which has taken more energy from source, has created a whole bunch of what I would call a dawn soul or a newborn soul. You know, not much experience. You know, and so you have a lot of sheeple, a lot of the possibility of a lot of sheeple running around. You also have the confusion that can be created in such a person who is it doesn't have an old soul. They have a very new soul. They're not used to they're not wise to the world yet. They're not, to this experience within this dimension, in this, and so they're easily led. They're also easily confused. Taking people and presenting gender dysphoria as if it's a fad, as if it's, it's promoting a mental illness, really.
It is.
And not so much as a condition that may happen due to some genetic deformation or the confusion between soul and body due to limited or several incarnations.
Yes.
And so it is being used as a way to destabilize society, politics, because a lot of people don't understand this. We have had a lot of spiritual suppression in the last 1,500 years, 1,000 years. There's been a whole lot of it, and the consolidation of everything under one house, and so one coffer getting the money, and the priests keeping information from us, like the Book of Enoch, just as an example.
Yeah.
And so, who All right. I know it was a lot, but one of the aspects of this is, yes, the denial of or vilifying of the pure experience of energy exchange between a masculine and feminine, to find the divinity within those two through the pancreal exchange. And you know, and those experiences are different for different people, because I don't believe that we're all here. We're not all here to have the same existence and have the same experiences in every lifetime. There's no way. Some people are meant to live alone and be an artist. That's the experience they're meant to have. Some people are meant to be leaders or learn confidence, or, you know, to in order to add something, an experience to their soul. So you have those who are monogamous, purely monogamous. I find the love of my life. I find the person that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life, or I find someone that I'm comfortable with, my best friend, and I'm going to travel with this person and exchange energies with them throughout you know, my experience in this incarnation. You also have people who are what we would call promiscuous. They're sacred whores, you know, not bad people. They're just sleeping around. They're not polytheistic. They're polyamorous. You know, that's legitimate. Those are sacred healers. And because of the mainstay of people thinking or feeling a certain way, society and religion teaching us that there are certain things that are right and certain things that are wrong. Not only do we have to worry about the vilification of the sacred exchange in that way, but I mean, you're also talking about, you know, just basic jealousies. Some, you know, dudes or chicks that are jealous, you know, they don't have enough, they have a lot of insecurity, and so they can't put themselves out there, and so they blame other people because they're promiscuous, or they're, you know, able to find people to sleep with. Snow was just talking about in his early days, you know, he banged 4 chicks in one day. You know what I mean? An insecure man would see that and would go, oh, he's a, you know, or an insecure woman, and they would like vilify him. They would, you know, they would look at that negatively. No, that man's just out there doing his thing. You know, he's just exchanging energy in a way that he naturally wants to exchange it.
4 women obviously didn't have a problem with it. So
exactly. You know, the idea that we're all supposed to live under the same experience and the same rules is bullshit.
It's a management tactic.
It's a management tactic. And it's also like it's also dealing with a person's, you know, how they've been raised, their own issues, or their ego. You know, and I struggle with this too. Like, this is actually, this very thing is something that over the last year I've had to come to terms with and understand. I project my own morals and ethics, my own standards upon others, when that's unfair to others. You know, and so all of, well, God, that's a really big question that you asked. But okay, let's bring it in. Reeling all this in is, yes. One of the reasons why they are promoting mental illness, they are trying to confuse young people, trying to conflate something that is actually quite simple. When it comes to gender dysphoria, if a person has it, they have it. Not everybody has it. And there are a lot of different types of kinks. Humans are fucking kinky fucking things, man. Like shoving anal beads up their ass or putting a corn cob in their mouth, whatever the fuck they're doing, rubbing themselves in peanut butter. Humans do some weird shit. They go back in time and bang hominids. You know, they take these things, you know, and they try to make them something that they're not in order to confuse people. And one of the reasons, aside from social management, engineering, creating fear, creating, you know, animosity between peoples, is to disrupt the exchange of sacred energy, you know, through the pancreal chakra, in order to stop us from finding an experience that is connected to source or the divine via the sacred exchange of energy between a man and a woman. Absolutely. There you go.
I also believe there is an effort to, because ultimately the end result of this exercise is that people self-sterilize. They carve up their genitals, they carve out their gonads, and they flip shit inside out. And that's a population control tactic.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of motherfuckers. Bring back dueling. It's a lot easier way to deal with this, guys. They don't want to do that though. You know, like if we shoot all the stupid people, all right, then they're manageable. You know. I'm sorry. Sorry. That was.
No,
left
you're
turn.
good, man. You're good. But it's one of those things, though, man. You rewind the clock back to like the early 2010s, the mid 2010s, and you can see this progressional element where it's like, okay,
from 2009, you can see it. Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
where it's gradually cranking up this idea of identity and this idea of like the fringe, and there's people that we don't listen to suddenly trying to convince the masses that the fringe,
because we had a gay president and the first male first lady. You know what I mean? That a lot of that had to do with that Obama and Mike. Okay, you know, like a lot of this came from that. It's at this point, it's like there's no way to deny it at this point. All right, we are well past the West Moody quarter test. You know what it is. Oh shit. Okay, he'll be right back. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was saying we're way past the West Moody quarter test, bro. Okay, it is pretty much everybody knows. We've seen the pictures from college. We see, you know what I mean? Okay. Oh, Barack Obama's gay, and Big Mike is his husband. All right, and it is what it is. A lot of this garbage started from a couple of perverts, pole smoking perverts who were hiding their identity. Which is a shame.
Brian Epstein Island.
Which is total right, exactly, dude. Oh, that's a whole other level of this evil shit, but I'm not going there. But it's because of their life track and them having to hide who they are, which they never should have done. I'm sorry, but if you're lying about that to the American people, you should have never been in the White House.
He's lying about his fucking birth certificate too.
No shit. It's oh my god, dude. Oh god, we can go into WikiLeaks. We can go into WikiLeaks. We can go into all kinds of shit.
This is turning into an episode of United Resistance.
Whoa, Jesus.
But
good to see Drew back, by the way.
Yeah. I wish him the best. I know
me too.
Going through a rough time, and our hearts are there with you, brother. So they were propped up to be the face of that particular movement. But what ends up happening is that this fringe minority in society, they're trying to convince society as a whole that these people are actually the majority when they're not. And then it's turning around and making their emotional reality is supposed to be more valid than objective reality, which doesn't give a fuck about your fifis,
No, you know how many trannies I ran into in my life before Barack and Michael were in the White House? 3, I think, maybe 3. And one of them was one of my dad's childhood friends, who, you know what I mean? Like, it was up close. I saw it. Okay, it got to a point where Dad was like, "All right, he's going to turn to a she soon, so." Maybe I shouldn't bring him around the house, and even my dad, who was like, I've had, he was not the most responsible parent, God bless him, but the hell, he did make one right decision, which was don't bring the guy who's cutting his balls off to come over to the house, until the kids were old enough to understand it. And when we were old enough, when I was like 16, 17, around there, we realized, we were told that, Uncle Ralph didn't exist and Aunt June was coming over, but other than that, maybe 2 other people. And since this has all started, there are weirdos walking around in dresses.
So that's what I was going to point out. So like we said, there is an element of this that has been with human society since the beginning. And we're not taking this opportunity to shit on any individual.
No, he-she's have always been a thing. And if you're a he-she, you're a he-she. It's what it is. Live your life. Be happy.
The politically cartoonish, like college activist fucking screaming with their jugular popping out because their social studies teacher is a Marxist or whatever. Those are the kind of elements that we're trying to point out here.
It's disingenuous. It's the disingenuous representation of a segment of our population who has a legitimate dysphoria that has one of the highest suicide rates of any minority, and is also a minority that is actually less than 1% of the world population, thrust to the forefront, used as a political and social cudgel to not only beat other people over the head who have no understanding and probably would have never if you didn't thrust it in their face like an unwanted dick at a fucking Masterson party, but you're also confusing young people who are discovering themselves, whose brains are still developing. They don't stop developing until 25, 26,
Right.
and trying to confuse them into making life decisions that will alter them physically, that will cause them to themselves most likely have a mental, emotional illness, and may possibly become suicidal at some point in the future because of the damage that they did to themselves, because people that they trusted in positions of power, be it family or government or their school, led them down the wrong path with intention, gaslit and conflated something that if they were going to discover, if at all in their lives, they would have done so naturally. It is an evil that is being done. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. YouTube censors.
Let alone to school age children. You know, there's talks. It was either in Florida or California where they said that kids as young as like 3 or 4 could be taught about gender dysphoria, and you know, God forbid if you're a boy and you pick up a Barbie doll, they're going to tell you to cut your fucking nuts out.
Yeah. And who's to say that a boy wouldn't play with a doll? You know, I mean, they're children.
It's the same thing. Like boys would put on dresses and, you know, just act out a role because that's a fucking game. But that's not to say that he feels like a girl inside and that he's trapped in a male body. You know, he's just dicking around, man. He's a kid.
These are parents who have had unresolved traumatic instances in their lives. They have insecurities, they have ego issues, and they are passing their pain onto their children. It's very narcissistic of them. They're passing their pain onto those kids to destroy their lives, to live through their children, and doing things that are going to impact them forever. I don't know about you, Coil. I mean, we're the same generation. You, me. You know, I know Rookie's the youngest of us, but like all of us, you know, listen. We're men. Men need to feel a certain way about themselves. Healthy masculinity is absolutely fundamental in the development of a young man into an adult. And they are trying to deform, destabilize, and confuse men before they even have a chance to understand who they are, their own strengths, into a position where they undervalue themselves. They don't respect themselves. They're going to be ashamed. I don't know about you, bro. All right. Like, I ain't got a problem with gays. I ain't got a problem with trannies. You live your life how you be a good person, be a good person. I don't care how you live your life. Right. But if I, being who I am, a very heterosexual man, very masculine man, if I were put through some of these things that these kids are put through, I would hate my fucking self by the time I would not know who I was, and I would hate myself by the time I was a young adult.
Well, and that's the point of this. You think about it too from a political stance. If a man is defeated in his own mind before he's an adult, then he has no. He's not considered a threat. He's not going to stand up and make trouble for the people who enjoy being in charge a little too much.
Yeah. And you know what? Even healthy, driven men who build societies, who build skyscrapers, who fight wars. You know what we also need in our lives? Women who stand up with us, who give us the energy to progress forward, who give us the lifeblood, their divine feminine energy, which adds to us. If you have a society of women who hate their men, then you're going to have angry, confused men who don't want to do shit, who hate themselves and don't know what love is.
Well, and if they can't, and this is a very true, it's a truism about the male animal. If a male's sexual frustration is allowed to get to a certain point, it's going to result in violence. You know, if you can't fuck and nobody's talking to you, and everybody puts you down and makes you feel like a piece of shit, you're gonna lash out. That's just how
You're
it
gonna,
goes.
you will. You're
know,
gonna lone wolf. You know.
Yeah, well, think about it. Like our analogs in nature. If you want to talk about wolves, there's an alpha that gets to mate, and nobody else gets to mate. And you know what they do to figure out who's going to be the alpha? They fucking fight.
Yeah.
You look at deers. They spend like months just like bashing each other in the fucking skull, trying to figure out who's going to get to have sex.
Who gets pussy? Yeah.
Yeah, and then all the guys that don't, they're oh well, I guess I'll try again next year. But like, come on, man, a bull moose will fucking kill you because he's horny.
Yeah.
He's got blue balls.
Yeah. And if I'm stuck back 2,000 years, 200,000 years ago,
Exactly.
and all I have to do is work and manufacture this time machine so that I can get back home, and I don't get laid, that time machine is not getting fixed.
No. I mean, the whole art of time travel was fucking lost because of shit like that.
Lost.
It's an ancient technology that's no longer the
Right.
fall of Mu.
Liberia was lost due to a lack of orgasms. This is what happened.
The time machine was broke, and then this bitches were.
And that Anthropithecus wouldn't fuck me. If a earlier hominid won't fuck me, how do I expect a sapien to fuck me? What the?
It's evil.
If I can't get laid by a hobbit bitch.
Well, and you think about it too. So we're talking about like the denial of the exchange of sacred sexual energy, which is a lot different than just like trying to get your dick wet and bust a nut, right? Where you have opportunists who come in, just like we're saying, talking about gender dysphoria and blah blah blah, but now they're using that as an identity in order to exploit. So you have all these biologically male athletes who go in and just destroy the female competition because we are physically more powerful than females.
Yes.
Or even worse, you have like predators who now I can go in the woman's bathroom because I put on a wig and some pantyhose, and I can, that used to fucking make me paranoid, dude. So I have a 10-year-old daughter, and when she was a toddler, I would not let her more than like two steps outside of my immediate sphere. And if I had to take her to the bathroom, I took her to the bathroom myself, and I took her into a stall, and I still kind of turned around and gave her privacy, but like, fuck, dude, nobody is going to touch my daughter or look at her sideways or teach her bizarre shit. I actually paid to send her to private school to keep her away from all that politics shit. It's not publicly funded, so you're not going to get like the local town board dipping their toes into it. And we do have conversations, but see, she's 10 now, so it's a little bit of a different conversation. We do have conversations that look, as you get older, you're going to meet all different kinds of people, and you're going to have people with different point of views and different perspectives, but your truth. You don't let people talk you into or bully you into their fucking belief system just because they need that like group conscious hypnosis kind of thing. And I guess that kind of touches into narcissistic abuse if you think about it.
No, it does. I mean, it's because it is a form of it, and it's oh god, because it has a lot of the same attributes when you talk about changing someone's reality, gaslighting in order to project your reality upon someone else, destroy their truth in favor of your own egotistical narrative. I mean, in that way, absolutely, it has to do with it's narcissistic in that way.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not necessarily like an interpersonal relationship, but you can see a mirrored tactic there, and it's I mean, we sort of touched on this, and I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it, but then the misuse of the exchange of sexual energy when it comes to victimizing people. And especially, I mean, we mentioned Epstein Island. That's a prime thing right there. Like the energy of virgins. You see that throughout all different kinds of societies, because that virgin chi is unique, and it's only going to be that way until somebody messes with it the first time.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it is unique. It's because virginity it's untouched, and it's not just in a physical way. It's not just untouched physically, but it's also on the mental and emotional engagement, but the spiritual engagement.
Yeah.
It is an untapped, clear energy, sacred energy exchange. Which is why it should be left to fucking kids, teenagers. Because it's purity and purity.
Sure.
Try robbing. How do I put this? An older person. An older person who, especially if they're a predator. You're unclean. Your energy, your energetic field is completely unclean. You're selfish. You're a narcissistic, or whatever it is, and you are dirtying this pool of clean energy. You're pouring radioactive fucking fluid into a spring. That's tainting and destructive to that virgin on many levels, energetically, not just mentally and physically and spiritually, but that's why, guys, listen. Put a bang of virgin sounds hot. Yeah, when you're 17, listen. If you're a grown-ass man or woman, exchange your healthy energies. Hopefully, it's healthy energies with another adult. If you're promiscuous, if you're doing it for tantric reasons or just spell casting reasons or whatever. If you're a fucking swinger, I don't give a fuck. But robbing a young person or a person who is pure of a pure experience, and entering into that aspect of their self is a crime that, there's no fit punishment for it. I'm not saying it's rape, but it's on that level, like energetically.
Well, and it's bad enough when it's a violation just for physical gratification, but there are actual like ritualized things where that's the goal, where they're trying to take that energy and do something with it.
Well, and that's where you go back to like the temples or the pantheons of Ishtar.
Yeah.
That is like those types of woman-centered, goddess-centered institutions would be there to lead through. You know what I mean? To lead the woman, lead a virgin or an inexperienced woman through these things, and teach them about the balance of that energy and opening up that part of their chakra, and that type of energy exchange. Because there's a reason why women are lunar and men are solar. All right, there's a reason for it, and we men give the seed of life.
Yes, we do.
To the woman. We plant that seed into the earth. We are giving our energy into that. Woman is taking the energy of the man that she is sleeping with. If and it's not that difficult to see. It is not at all difficult to see when you have a promiscuous woman, and who is sleeping consistently with with different men, but one more than the others. You can tell. Her behavior changes, her energy changes, her speech patterns change.
Yes.
It was,
as a reflection of him. Yeah. Absolutely.
As a reflection of him. Yeah. So-and-so, so-and-so's cheating on you because all of a sudden she's using these terms and she's saying this. That's because she's exchanging energies with that dude,
Yes, she is.
It's not that difficult. It's, and for men too, by the way. When you're giving your energy, your solar being, when you are giving your energy to a woman, there's an exchange. And if that woman is unhealthy, if she's sleeping around, you are exchanging energies with every single dick that's been inside of her. I don't care if she's showered, she's douched, and been to the freaking gyno. Okay, I don't care. No. You are dipping your wick inside a cauldron of other man's shit. And
you don't know as an antenna, And then all
Yes.
that universal energy is like tuning into radio stations. So
Dude,
she's allowing that many sticks inside of her, and you're just dipping it in and stirring it up. It takes an average of about 6 weeks for our sexual energies to dispel.
Yeah, you know what?
A partner.
COIL, I talked with COIL about that exact thing when every single person who's known, every person who knew me pre 2 years ago, all right, pretty much knew my personality and could predict what I would do in a situation. You know, you guys knew me for a couple years. And as soon as I started exchanging energies with a woman who was sleeping with fucking, I don't know, 6 different guys, you know, my entire attitude changed. My energy changed. I became hyper aggressive, hyper defensive. I acted in ways that I'd never acted before because I did not know that I was exchanging energies with like 5 different dudes. I did not know that at the time. And it changed my personality. And it took it took like how many months for me to rediscover myself, for me to collect my energy, because that is the negative aspect. That example is a negative aspect of the divine feminine, right? So if you have a woman who has unclean energy, who is haphazardly just exchanging her energies with anybody, you know, for whatever reasons, and is doing it for selfish reasons, is not, you know, cleansing herself energetically, or just sleeping with dudes who are just dirt fucking dudes,
right?
You are exchanging your energies with that woman, like. And the ancients understood. The ancients understood that the sacred whore, you know, for lack of a better term, the sacred whore had to understand who she was exchanging energy with, how to cleanse her energy, how to properly filter that out. You know what I mean? And it takes meditation. It takes practice. It takes a divine direction to do that. Yeah. You know, each of us, both male and female, have our own set of energies, our own set of rules when it comes to this world, you know, and it's from a spiritual perspective. And if you are an unclean man, right? If you're sticking your dick in fucking 6 different chicks, so same fucking thing can happen. Same exact. You know, but if you are a man who is healthy about it, who is not doing it for devious reasons or controlling reasons, you're just happily exchanging energy, you know, or, you know, having sex. Like that, you know, and you understand the levels of intimacy involved, right? Because there's just fucking, and then there's intimacy. You know, when you deal with an incubus or a succubus, you're okay, which are fucking legit things. I know. I was banging one. There are incubuses and there are succubuses, and these are people who steal your energy, exchange it with toxicity. They are unclean. They're demonic energy, very dark energy, very selfish energy.
RR says that's a dirty dip.
That's a dirty dip, right? You know, but they understand that, and their whole purpose is to create a level of a false intimacy.
Sounds like you got Lizzo backing up.
Oh, my bad. To create a level of false intimacy with you, because if you're a man sleeping with a succubus, and that succubus has you under the impression that she loves you, right? Creating that false love connection, that false deep connection. You as a man are giving your sacred energy, your deepest energies to that demon, and she is exchanging it with toxicity. You know, same thing for a dude who's like a very manipulative con artist, you know, narcissistic player. All right. If he's sleeping with a bunch of different women and he is making these women fall in love with him, she is giving him her sacred feminine energy. And he is exchanging it with toxicity. There is a healthy and an unhealthy way to go about this. You have 2 healthy people if you have 2 people that are just like, yo, I want to get a nut off, there is a certain level of intimacy that is reached. It does not go beyond that. It is a completely physical interaction. There's always energy exchange, but it's a physical interaction. It's limited. If you are with someone that you love, that you are deeply, you know, enthralled with, then you are giving yourself over. Your core energies are being given over in exchange with that person because of love and trust and dedication. You know, at very deep levels. And so that's why it's important. Like, it is important to know who you're banging and why you're banging them, you know? Yeah. And that's something I didn't understand early on in my life. I didn't understand that until the last 4 years. So,
well, and it's interesting too, when people are using sex to disrespect themselves or to
right.
disrespect another, yeah, then you get a situation where, like RR was saying, that becomes a dirty dip.
Yep.
And I would hope that, I mean, at least guys our age, we would have enough experience that we can tell the difference between just a quick fuck and then like when you love somebody and you're pouring your heart and soul into it.
Well, you can know absolutely, but you can know the difference. But that's where, honestly to God, it's like meeting the right person before you even put your dick in them.
Yeah.
Understanding what you're putting your dick into is so very important.
Well, this also goes back to something SnoDub was saying earlier. He says, nowadays women have been ruined by social media, Instagram, and OnlyFans. Most women think they are hotter than they really are. It's a paradox. Lots of young men are virgins into their 30s, and
wow.
tangentially. So that's a little bit of red pill. SnoDub's really good at that, but tangentially related to that is the fundamental dynamic of how men and women are interacting with each other has completely changed in the last
Yes.
20 years. So like
Yeah.
you look at people our grandparents' age or our parents' age where they were still face to face courting, you know, being around each other all the time, that leads up to a relationship that, versus nowadays where people are just like flicking around with their thumbs on people's pictures and then deciding the rest of their night based on
Instant
very,
gratification.
very shallow
Yeah.
things, which I'm not saying you can't have sex just to fuck sometimes, but I'm saying just like we were just discussing earlier, the caliber of your experience and the quality of the energy exchange is going to suffer if all you're doing is just thinking genitally,
What? Yes. Yes.
yeah.
But there's also there's also a premise, a precedent for like the one night stand, like
Sure.
the when that you're just there for base desire, and that exchange is just base desire, there's less of a threat of being of exchanging toxicity. There's less of I think a threat of it being damaging to who you are energetically.
Well, and consenting adults, of course, but it's just the nature of that conversation has changed. It's not so face to face anymore. It's all
Right.
virtual, or a
It
lot of
is.
it is. A lot of it is, and there's kids growing up who never knew what not having a cell phone was like, and they just take all this shit for granted. It's very interesting times we live in.
And it's and the thing about it is, well, you're absolutely right. There's a generation that's being raised now that has really no guidance in a lot of these things because we didn't experience them. We didn't go through them. It's a generation unlike any other. I mean, to be perfectly honest. And so where we should, because of these changes, be taking it slow so that those of us who have been through similar experiences or can arrive at a place where we can give wisdom based on the information we have, even though we have not lived through the experience. Wisdom is being vilified. Older voices are being vilified. Like it's like, the old angry white racist guy, like while they're older, they're not going to be able to give you any good advice. And at the same time, it should, as fast as it's happening, this is when you slow things down. This is when you slow the progression down so that thought can take place, so that there can be time for a person to analyze what they are thinking, feeling, and what is going on. And the exact opposite is happening.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's our opportunity as parents to really kind of create that like campfire atmosphere where it's you gotta take a more proactive approach to guiding the
Yes.
growth of your child. You have grown children, bit more or less. Mine's
Yeah.
still in 5th grade, but there's no substitute for hands-on parenting.
No, and the thing is, Coil, you were talking about taking her into a bathroom, and protecting her, in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be at a point where your daughter, in just a couple of years, is going to start really getting involved in social media, and you're not going to be able to hold her hand through that.
No. And I'm hoping that I've spent enough of her formative years instilling morals so that she's going to fuck up. I know, like, the pan's hot, kids are going to grab it, whatever, but that she has enough of a sense of origin to know when things are weird. And also just fostering that relationship where it's okay to come and talk to me. I'm not going to jump down your throat. I'm not going to scream at you because you have a question.
Right.
But, and you don't see that so much because oftentimes it's like children are having babies and they haven't gotten over their own trauma. Like you were saying, how parents are visiting their trauma on their own kids because they're not done with it yet. Whereas,
or they just choose not to face it, which, and also some people, think that they have or they have dealt with and they haven't. It's the lack of mental health awareness, emotional health awareness, and the just has really hurt, especially we 80s, 90s kids. That's when it first really started. He's having suicidal dark thoughts. Here, give him some lithium. It's what the fuck.
Well, we're truly the lost generation too, because like before us was the baby boomers, and then the greatest generation, and then like right after us, like shit got really fucking strange.
Yeah,
we're the last generation who like went outside and climbed trees and didn't have
the millennials. Really?
Yeah. And then like suddenly after us, everybody had cell phones and like everything was virtual.
Gen Z has had the hardest time. My youngest son, he just turned 18. I've had to watch him go through this time and be there for him as much as I can. Having been through that experience, man, I can only imagine what you're going to be going through as a parent over the next decade, and how kids that are just being born today. Mark with a C said something on
I love
Scotch.
that guy.
Yeah, so do I.
One of the most stand-up motherfuckers on YouTube. If you guys subscribe to him, go do it now.
Yeah, he was on the panel tonight on Scott's stream, and he was saying this is why we have to talk about these things, and we have to be vigilant about what is being told to our kids, what's being told, in schools, how they're being taught, because a lot of the stuff that the teacher, the state, that these far leftists and all that, it's harmful. It is completely destructive. It comes from a place of illness.
It's designed to be that way. Absolutely,
it is designed to be that way. And anyone, okay, just the most basic truth, guys. All right, if you have a school teacher that is trying to conflate the idea or identity of a student's personality, sex, that is conditioning. That is dangerous. And that, I'm sorry, there's no other way I'm going to see this, is all to make a child more accessible to a predator. By confusing them. Not everybody is safe to talk to about sexual things, sexual nature. It just isn't. And you have a lot of very hateful, damaged, perverse, just people that are they're all trying to help each other out. They're all, they're out there trying, the alphabet mafia, they're just trying to help each other out.
Well, yeah, they're virtue signaling, but it's if an adult outside of your mom or your dad is over interested in your sexuality as a child, huge red flag. you fucking come and tell Dad, and I'll shoot him in the face.
You know what I mean? Like talk to a fag who went through the 80s marches.
Oh yeah.
Talk to you know what I mean? Talk to a gay. And when I say gay, I mean men and women, because men and there wasn't this great divide and breaking down all these different types. No, they were gay. You're gay. You're gay.
Yeah.
Talk to an 80s march gay who was marching for gay rights during that time, what they think about what's happening right now, and they will tell you this is not what they fought for.
I don't know.
This is
They
hate it.
Yeah.
My God, Jesus Christ. My lesbian moms are voting Republican because of this shit. You know, like it's, you know what I mean? Like
it's come to that.
It's come to that. It's come to that. There's basic truths, COIL, when it comes to this topic, and but like I said, Mark with a C, totally dead on. We have to talk about these things. We have to. He was actually, the reason that I brought him up is because he was echoing, or he had said something that you said about being the last generation. Something I think Snow was talking about earlier. The last generation of like real people, of like real like conscientious people.
Yeah.
We're the last defense between what is to come over the next generation that is going to destroy society, just destroy anything that recognizable about it. For me, it's about protecting innocence, right? It's not so much because I'm a liberal. You know what I mean? Like I'm a witch from the fucking Northeast, dude. You know, like I voted I voted Democrat all the way up to Donald Trump, and you know, and the second run, the one that got stole. And
Barack Hussein.
I voted for Obama. I voted for Hillary in 2016. I've always voted Democrat. I am. That's just what I vote. You know, but you know, a lot of what has changed the way that I vote, the way that I look at politics, has been this attack on innocence. You know, and I can't do it. I'm sorry. Like we live. Oh my God, just COIL. We live in an age where you can absolutely get on part of the web that is not regulated by the system, the elite, and find pictures of our sitting president doing things on an island.
Yep.
You know, you can these things. So if that is the leadership of our country, then the idea that these gender issues that are being created and taught in schools and forced upon our kids to make them more accessible to perverts is not a far fucking cry. I don't think that I am, off any fucking reservation by thinking that. This is the fight for our society. This is the fight for our grandchildren. This is the fight to stop evil, pure fucking evil.
Yep.
I'm off my soapbox.
We got RR saying they should have had that message in one of the GI Joe after school. Now you know.
Yes.
Knowing is half the battle. Yeah.
Yes, RR. Yes.
And then SnoDub says 100 years from now, social media will be looked back on as the beginning of the deconstruction of the human race.
Yeah. Snow is perfectly right. It's perfectly right.
The Walton descendant from 100 years ago is going to come back in time.
Yes.
Break his time machine.
Fucking non-binary.
Shit.
What's that? Do you like this?
It's like Legend of Zelda or Castlevania. Just like every 100 years, the same shit happens over and over.
Oh my God, that's awful.
We've been all over the place in the past 2.5 hours. I think it's about time to.
We started with Jesus.
We did. we went all over time and space. We talked about aliens and ancient humans and fucking whatever happened for trans whatever formers.
Daz, listen, next week there will be a poll in the chat. There will be a Walton poll in the chat. All right? Because I really think that this is something that we should keep asking. This is a question that we should really ask new viewers as they come in. You know, the time machine question. I think that this is a valid. I think it's a very valid conversation for us to have. It's very savage, and I think next week we should talk about if you slept with a hobblist. What type of energy exchange would you expect?
Geez, who knows? That's a humdinger. Right on.
That is a humdinger. Yes.
Well,
I had a
Lodonis,
great time, man.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and what you're about and what you're up to next?
Wow. Well, let's see. I just started this channel, Lodonis Ravenwolfe, because I'm going to be doing tarot, spiritual content. I'm going to be working with Immortal COIL for Savage Spirituality moving forward. Looking forward. Thankful for him for letting me come on and be a part of the team and doing this. So I will start doing tarot readings on that channel pretty soon. CJH, if you're listening later on, I promise it's coming. You can also find me on Lodonis Dragonstorm, which is a narcissistic abuse and recovery channel. I do a lot of bitching. No, I'm there for a community of people who have either been through or are going through narcissistic abuse awareness. I went through a narcissistic relationship and I did not understand what was going on, had to do research, had to go through the same road that a lot of people who have been in my predicament have had to do, which is basically understand what was going on, why we were being targeted for the abuse, smear campaigns, devaluation. And since I have been on my healing journey, I've decided to become part of a growing community of different content creators from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and other platforms that that are there as a guiding light or to help reinforce victims who are stuck in a trauma bond with their abuser not to go back and to better themselves and help to, you know, motivate and feel better about who they are. Understand that you were targeted for abuse unfairly. You were manipulated with design, with malicious intent, devalued, and that you are not the person that you have allowed yourself to be during that time. So I'm there to help heal and hopefully make a few people laugh. And that's where I'm at with that. So How to Gaslight Women. That's what Mad Morgan calls that channel. So please come by there and check it out. I also am doing rogue streams on author Stephen Walton, where I talk about entertainment and politics, fighting the establishment and the far left from trying to use our entertainments as platforms to espouse dangerously arrogant, narcissistic propaganda in order to shape our society into an ugly place, and doing so using mythologies, modern mythologies and stories that were once there for us to bring us together, talk about around the water cooler, you know, bridge gaps of race and ethnicity, culture, and bring hope. You know, bring hope and understanding between people, and using it to conflate, gaslight, and destroy society. So any one of those three channels, please come and check me out. And I greatly appreciate you guys for being here. Remember to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and suffer no fools.
Well said, sir. And I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing on Saturdays now. I got a big kick in the pants from talking with Walton lately, and just trying to be more of use to humanity. You know, it's hard to think of topics all on myself, but I felt like everything kind of came out very naturally tonight. So
it did. We could talk about anything from enlightened topics, because you're a very good speaker and knowledgeable, and I'm really appreciative of that. And you know Babylonian lore. Oh, you gave me a little bit of a spiritual hard-on with that. And we can also talk about, you know, fucking hominids. So thank you, Immortal Core.
Yeah, I dig it, man. There's not, well, and we're joking around and shit, but there's just not a lot of people that I can fully talk to about all these things, because people are hung up on either their religion or what their science book says or what their school taught them. And
oh, COIL. Wait until once we get this show a rolling, sir. While I was on my my exodus from everybody, well, you know, and because for a while there, I had to be away from anyone who was my friend previous to or had seen me fall. You know, when I went through what I went through. While
pissed a
I
lot of
was
people off, man.
while I did, I was being fucking gaslit and abused and didn't know what to do.
I get it.
You know, so well, while I was away from everyone, Zach's led me to a little corner of YouTube with a bunch of spiritualists, tarot card readers, people who talk about history, ancient history, ghosts, all kinds of shit that you're gonna like. So once we get this show kind of rolling, I think we're going to act as a duo and go hit a couple of those streams.
That sounds great, man.
Yeah, we're gonna build this. We're gonna become a part of a larger community, but let's establish ourselves first and then do that.
Absolutely. Well, we had a great showing. Want to thank the chat again. We had R come out. We had SnoDub come out. We had the Rookie Critic come out. We had let's see here, Matthew Lutska come out. Appreciate you, sir. And everybody who small time Republic, he came out too. Everybody who's listening on the replay, don't forget to hit the like button, share this out. If any of this conversation got you giggling or thinking or whatever, you know, all the help you can give us helps definitely. And then we're looking forward to like he's saying, this program blowing up and turning into, you know, we're going to bring on guests and different perspectives and just have a good time and hopefully change some lives in the process of it. You know, there's too much negativity, there's too much you know, bullshit going on. No one's doing anything to feed the spirit anymore, and that's the mission right here. So
we're gonna feed the spirit, feed imaginations, and go back in time. That's what we're doing.
Back in time. That's right.
We're doing that.
One last time, I'd like to invite you guys to lift high whatever it is you are imbibing. Join us in the savage salute. Here is to us what is like us, not a goddamn thing. Have a good night.